up and get real big enough to whoop the other guy. And that was the same scenario. It happened every week. So I used to tell them, no, we're Muslim Rangers. That's what our job is, to swell up big enough to take care of boss man. But anyway, the situation that we're living in demands or calls for a global solution. Now, about this taking a risk and risk management, I don't know, y'all may not be old enough. I thank Allah for being born at a certain time. And one of the brothers from Masjid Muhammad or Masjid Wardeen in Oakland was helping with one of the electricity. He did electricity in one of our buildings out there, and he was saying, he was older like I was. He was saying, see, you came at a time when you got part of the old, you know what I mean, but you got part of the new also. When he was talking about the old, he was talking about, remember when we used to put cardboard in our shoe, when you wore a hole in your shoe? Well, most modern people, they don't have one pair of shoes. They got, the poor kids got 20 pairs of shoes. Well, let's say 5. Everybody got some. I just don't understand why the kids always want shoes. Let me get another pair of shoes there. I said, but you haven't wore those but 3 times. I mean, it's just, well, okay, go knock yourself out. Everybody else has them, and I said, knock yourself out. It don't make me no difference. Just get 100 pair, which they do. They have them everywhere. We didn't have that. We got 1 pair of shoes. When we got new school clothes in September, we got 1 pair of shoes, and that pair of shoes was expected to last the whole year. Of course, we were the lucky ones. We was out in California and kind of wealthy. Now, down south, you didn't get no shoes. When I was coming up, you didn't get shoes till you started at school. You was just barefooted. All the kids was, everybody, I was barefooted myself. I mean, and you lived in the country. Who needs shoes in the country? Of course, it ain't nothing to step on. You couldn't walk up and down this glass. But in the country, you was just barefooted. Everybody was barefooted. And I like coming up in that time because it was a special time when those old things and those old people was beginning to pass away. But then the Tuskegee Airmen and later on civil rights and Orville Forbes down there in Arkansas and the Little Rock 8 or 7 or whoever, the National Guard taking kids to school, all of that. It was good growing up in that period. And then I remember it was one old spiritual in those days, something about go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. And the East, not that's why I named myself Musa, but anyway. That was a special period. Then the brother in California was saying, we got a chance to deal with the old and the new. And so he said, where you from anyway? And he was talking. I said, well, I'm pretty close to you, wherever he was from. He said, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I said, shoot. I said, when you cross the Mississippi River there in Memphis and you go into Arkansas. I said, I'm from Arkansas. I could tell by his accent he was close to where I was from. That's why I say, wherever you're from, you're pretty close. You're not far away from where. So that's about 100 miles. So technically we would have a similar accent, just like Maryland and Virginia gonna have a similar accent, unless you way down in southern Virginia and somebody's way up north in Maryland. Anyway, About risk. Sometimes if you take your life, say like, well, something that happened to me was in 1966, the government thought that, living that type of lifestyle, coming home from prison. Now, remember, at that time, I didn't know that you would get on the list that fast. So when I was in the joint, I joined, the Nation. Yeah, I was a lieutenant in the Nation. I came home. When I came home in '65, I was going to the temple over in San Francisco, and in fact, Bernard Kushner was the minister there, and in '66 he left and he went to Phoenix with Elijah Muhammad, because Elijah Muhammad was kind of had asthma or something. Yeah, so he went out to the desert for his health. Bernard Kushner he left San Francisco and he went there with him. Bernard Kushner wrote "This Is the One," "Our Savior Has Arrived," all of those books about Elijah Muhammad. He was a smart guy, so now I didn't know, I used to hear the ministers talk. Yeah, the FBI gonna come by and talk to you, they gonna do this. And I thought, well, maybe that's about 65, in the early 66. Henry Majid was the minister then. I used to hear that, but I didn't think that the government was that, gonna be paying much attention. I thought maybe they was making it up a little. It wasn't making it up at all. It was all really true. Now imagine, so I'm going to the temple, and in our neighborhood, they have little neighborhood leaders. So I was 21, so I got out of the pen, I was 20 years old. I had a good job, working in a factory, box company, making a middle class wage, $2.50, $3, about $3 an hour or something in those days. And that young, you don't have a lot of responsibility. It was livable. So anyway, the government came, because we used to, now you got to imagine, I come out of prison and I didn't eat no meat or nothing with meat in it. Now, we knew about not eating pork, but when I was in the pen, if they had 100 pounds of ground beef supposed to go in the big spaghetti and meatballs, they would pack 5 pounds in there just so we would know it and we wouldn't eat it. Or, whatever, just to give us a little psychological trouble. So I developed a habit of, I'm not eating pork, because I stopped eating pork in '63, but in '64, I stopped eating all meat and anything with meat in it. And I still the same way now. And so when I came home, imagine in the Nation, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't do none of that stuff. And I'm telling you, it was so serious that when I come home, people didn't even know what in the world what do you do, man? Because see, when I left, I was drinking and all that like all the other youngsters. So anyway, so being a little leader, lifting weights, and we getting together every day after work, they looked at it as a possibility of a little gang, like. Or they look for potential leaders. Okay, so that's the way they looked at me. So those two friends of mine that came to me and borrowed $200 from me and paid the $200 back right away, but they gave me a big batch of marijuana. So-called it was enough marijuana to already packaged up for me to make $500. Now $500 same as $10,000 now. Yeah, that's a lot of money then. So I said, well, I didn't smoke weed. I didn't do nothing with it. But I just said, well, I'll sell it, you know. They'd made big fat packages. If you get 3 matchboxes in a half a can, they put 4 matchboxes, you know. So they was fat. And I kept that policy all the time, that same policy. I always give everybody more than what they pay for and at a cheaper price. So that's how I got rich, just having that policy. Oh, here it is. So anyway, what happened was I sold this stuff, and all of a sudden, I said, well, I'll do this for a while, make a lot of money, then I'll quit. I said, man, when I make me $3,000, I'm going to quit. The only problem with that is it didn't take me but 2-3 weeks to make $3,000. So I said, well, might as well keep rolling. The point is that they did the marijuana thing for me, on me, and my friends were participating to divert me away from the movement. Remember 1966, the Black Panther Party is formed in Oakland, and Oakland is a town, it's kind of like D.C. used to be, kind of like when it was about 400,000 or 500,000 people here, not now when it's getting close to 1 million. But you know, the old D.C., when no matter what set you was on, you could get around and know people from other little sets. You know what I mean? Well, that's the way Oakland was. Oakland was, yeah, you hung out in your neighborhood, but it was not so big that, you know, you wouldn't have a feel for what's going on in the rest of the city. I'm going to try to speed up. Anyway, so they tried to divert me. Now, the thing about Oakland was, well, all the cities at that time, the people that just come from the South and all that were kind of semi-religious a little bit. You know, everybody. Now, we was from the middle class area in Oakland, and everybody was thinking, man, if you do that, you're going to get in trouble, you know. And if you do that, you know, of course they all smoked a little weed mostly, but still, man, you're going to get in trouble and this is going to happen. And after a couple of years of watching, they were converted themselves. In other words, they say the time was moving. If you take 66, by 68, in those days, a year or two was a long time. So from 1966 to 1968, that was a big transition in the people. So the people watch it. Now this is about risk. Oh, you selling this and you doing that. And look, it ain't too much of a risk at all. So pretty soon the people is getting, you know, they starting to do it too. So by 68, the first group of people that was now getting involved in all of this modern, you know, they started to sell drugs a little bit. Whereas before in 66, oh, the Lord gonna get you, and you know, stuff like that. That was really our neighborhood feeling. You know. But by 68, everybody's getting down. So the thing about risk and risk management is, if you don't take a chance in life or in anything, or in acting or in sports, you know, you don't take a risk. You know, even in track, they say that the fastest runners, while Negroes run so fast is because they lean so far forward and they're almost falling down. So they have to run, keep their feet moving, because that's part of our feeling, you know what I mean? That we lean. You see them running when they leaning so far forward. They're not running straight up like white folks. Negroes is leaning forward. So you got to run fast to keep from falling down. That's what it is. That's basically one of the things. And that's why Denzel said, if you got to fall forward instead of falling backwards, because everybody's telling you got to have something to fall back on. Or you going to school, you're going to take up this, but you better have something to fall back on. You know, everybody is avoiding risk. And risk is what builds you. Risk is what makes you. So, no, we have to be able to take a chance. If you don't take a chance, you know, so when we left Oakland, by 1971, it was a whole society of risk takers. Why? Because we lived, like we call it, a fishbowl life. We was living on the surface. Everybody, when you drive down the street, there's your neighbors. Everybody see each other, and everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody's in touch with each other. I mean, really in touch with each other. So they get the feel that, wait, if he can do all of that, then I can do it too. So if you look in Northern California, Oakland for a long time, East Oakland, we talk about East Oakland Enterprises, a lot of the biggest Negroes, including Felix Mitchell and all of them, they came out of East Oakland. Why? Because we was there. I was gone. I was overseas running around. And about taking risk, I asked everybody. Some of the people I was telling, well, I'm going to go and get out of here. And you want to go with me? I was even telling my family, y'all want to go with me? What about the house? I said, okay. Everybody, you know, what about my mama and all the family? Okay, fine. I'm gone. I'm not, look, I'm going to leave you hooked up, but I'm getting out of here because boss man is out of hand. Okay, so people are risk avoidance. They avoid risk. They don't want to take a chance. Now, when I travel all over the world, all of a sudden, I'm acquiring, you know, and believe it or not, Negroes kind of loose in those days. So you be calling everybody on the phone, oh, where you at? Oh, I'm in such and such, and I'm here, and I'm there. So everybody know where you are. So everybody's talking about it. So-and-so's in Africa. So, and you got to imagine, 50 years ago, how many blacks, only a few educated blacks and stuff went to Africa, you know, do a little research or go back to the motherland. It was all kind of, it was a whole group of educated Negro. They was semi-educated, and in black Africa, not Algeria. In Algeria, they was, you know, revolutionaries or trying to be revolutionaries. But in black Africa, like Tanzania and all that, everybody was, some of the guys that was here, Hadari and them, that was at the bookstore, they knew a lot of the people. They went to some of the big conferences they would have over there, you know, and Tanzania, because anyway. But now, when we got to South America, that risk-taking, imagine, it's actually would be considered to everybody a big risk. You know, you don't know nothing about South, you going down to South America because, you know, that's what we're gonna do. Now imagine the average mind wouldn't even think about that. You could tell because there's no Negro great smugglers of any drugs. There ain't no colored cartels. They don't have them. Some people pretty big in distribution here. And they're not that big in distribution because other people are crowding in and coming in closer and closer on what would have been ours. So the point is, nobody wanted to take a chance. But when people would come down to South America and they'd come back here and then they would be rich overnight, then everybody wanted to come down that end because they saw the risk is worth it. Ain't nobody getting arrested. It's got to be easy. In fact, it was easy at that time. So all of a sudden you see now people have taken a risk and just to come down there. Because people be seeing skeleton and closet, they be worried, where's South America at anyway? You know, that's the first question everybody wants. Where's Colombia? You got to realize that the Negro didn't travel that much in those days. He just didn't travel. No, I'm telling you, they didn't travel hardly at all. Black people, they used to roll their eyes at you when you went to get a passport. What do a nigger need with a passport is what the white folks are saying.
It's still almost like that.
Yeah, what you nigga, where you going? Where you going? You leaving here from? We tell y'all all what you want to find out about over there. You ask us, we'll tell you. That's the way they look at it. Let me speed up a little. So this risk taking. When you look at now the way we're living and you look at the system, we were just talking a minute ago about Sunday when we was in class, how we was talking about, oh, Don is broke, he ain't got no money, right? And then clockwork, it's like soon as you get back, I said, wait just a minute. Because, you know, things like that are happening more and it's closer. I said, wait a minute. And then the white folks are saying, yeah, Don, he owed $300 million. He ain't got a dime. And Don paid $750 in taxes 2 years and none for the last 50, I don't know, right? And it's drip, 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 the same thing we've been saying. Drip, 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 drip. He's compromised. He's a security threat. He is a security threat. They say he's a security. He is. It ain't nothing. Now, we done already lined it up for everybody. It's the Zionists over there. They didn't hire him. We use the term, they hired him. He was hired to do that. It was clear to us right away that he was hired to do that because he's doing, his job is to destroy America or to weaken it. That's what his job. If he weakens America, then the Zionists have more power. Although they having demonstrations, all Netanyahu ain't in too good a shape himself. But if he's in better shape than America, this big country can be used, like it has been, to go over and fight what America had to do with Iraq. Nothing but go over there and fight to make sure they don't get no. What does America had to do with Iran? They tried to finish it off in '53. What's wrong with them having a treaty, right? With Iran, nuclear. Now, Iran can't lose because the Rahbardins gave a fatwa that we can't have a nuclear weapon anyway. That don't mean that the army won't be slipping around. You know what I mean? It don't mean that. It means that on the surface, no, man, we don't do that, you know. But you got to imagine too that you don't know what the military is going to do. although the Rahbar said. So technically, they're negotiating about something that they're not going to do anyway.
Right. Yes, right. I was thinking the exact same.
Yeah, they're negotiating about, we don't want you to have no atomic. Well, I don't know. But they're not going to have it. And then the CIA's information said that after they was working on something up to 2003, but after that, there was no, this is what their information say. So they negotiating with, I don't know, you can't tell, y'all be talking crazy and all that. So they negotiating about something that they're not going to spend any time on. And then when they realized what they was doing, this is when Netanyahu and Saudi Arabia say, y'all left the missiles out, man. These guys is big, and missiles and drones. You can look on the phone thing every day. Iran is increasing their ability in drones, drone technology, and missile size and accuracy every day. I mean, every week they come out, not every week, but every month or so, they improve and they improve. So they're getting better. But anyway, so to negotiate with these people, who would it help and who would it harm? It was harming Netanyahu. So they always saying, well, it's the Russians, it's the Russians. That's a diversion. It's Saudi Arabia and it's the Zionists. Now, the only thing Russia could be playing a little part for a little few extra dollars, but it don't look like it, because the Russians have been holding up good in Syria. Remember the U.S. talking about we bombing. For 2 years they was bombing Daesh and ISIS, and they hadn't hit nobody. And the Russians came in 2015, something like that, and they had them almost wiped out in about a month. So that was old boss man. Anyway, so we're back to risk and risk management, and the world that we want to live in. It's a risk for us to place our faith and trust in these people who have no concept. They're going to have the debates tonight. You won't hear nothing about the global change, or we got to do this and we got to do that, right? They won't be talking about that. They won't be, and if it is, it's just talk, because the level that they would have to bring it up to, if they can't stop people from going in and out of restaurants and going to school, they definitely not going to be able to say, we got to freeze this thing. We got to have a little food. We're going to produce food. We're not going to produce no more nothing. No more cars, no more this, no more that, till we clean this thing up. We're going to clean it up. They're not even thinking about that. But that's what's need to be done. Anyway, as far as other peoples and groups are concerned, technically, Iranians, Shias in general, Indo-Pak, African Americans, we've had it's been a very, not fruitful, but it's been a good experience. Now remember our experience from before. Heavily involved in drugs, well, in some of them, but supporting the whole black movement, supporting the black movement. Then the government didn't expect us to do that. They expected if we get the Negro in the dealing with drugs, and the first time they arrested me, they was searching everything, doing this, that, and another. First of all, it was illegal what they did. But they said to each other, this one is different, because I'd have bank accounts and all that before I got a little wide. But, So he saves his money. So they was not looking just for no drugs. They was looking to see the habits, customs. Then when I tried to take a little retirement at that time, here they come with all the big connections. Now, you know what makes you big in that is you have access to everything. So I remember where all of the contacts came from. I remember who brought them. I remember all of that. And when I go back and back, it's always the same. It's boss man. Yes, it is. Boss man was my connection. All the time and every time. You know, that was, and I didn't have nothing against it because, you looking for it, and here boss man come with it. Always a good old friend, though, that you knew way back when, that just point you in that direction, and then they disappear. You don't see them again. Of course, last time I saw this guy was when I snuck back in the country. I was ready to turn myself in. I was at the San Francisco airport, and I had a beard like now and big bushy hair. Before, I was always clean cut. He sat down right next to me. So I asked him the dumbest question in the world. I said, "So you know who I am, huh?" And we grew up together and everything. And I'd only been gone. But that let me know, thinking back about it, he's the one that pointed me to the white boys 2-3 years earlier, and he was the police. And they knew I was back in the country, and he's there to identify me, to say, yep, that's him. You know, when you get a chance, when you survive a long time and you have all this time to put everything together, you don't need no new experiences because all of that stuff that happened, it all fits. So anyway, with the African experience, the South American experience, and when we get a chance to rest and go into the penitentiary and come out as an imam in 1980, and go back for a minute, and y'all remember the little writing that they had. We don't want you to go back home and start your Muslim church. We want you to get a job and da-da-da-da-da. I said, these people is really crazy. You know, and the reason I went back was illegal. It didn't really happen, you know. But the environmental circumstances, the revolution was just happened in Iran, and that was a whole environment. The Islamic movement amongst African Americans was people was hopeful. That was during the days when Imam Mu'tadim Muhammad gave his lecture in Philadelphia, Remake the World. Of course, I was a little early in '76. Remake the world, just what was needed. Right now, remake the world. And the Dar was still going. And everything, the point I'm making, everything that happened to me personally did not divert me from the movement. It helped me get more involved in the movement. Even when I was in not California, I was in the prison, McNeil Island. It's kind of like Alcatraz, except it's up in Washington. And everybody from California and all that go there. Well, I knew everybody in California and da-da-da-da. And the warden, for some reason, a deputy warden, he had a meeting with us. I was the captain, another brother was the secretary, another was the minister. And the deputy warden, they used to call him John Wayne, because when he was at Terre Haute, Indiana, he walked out on the yard doing a ride and supposed to be bad. He was standing there and he said, "Now I want y'all to da-da-da-da-da." And the minister was bowing down. The more he talked, the more I said, "What?" I was looking at them and look. I said, "This is the devil," you know. And he could see that whatever he was talking about, I wasn't into it, and so he saw me as a threat to what he was doing out there. Plus, in '74, some of the brothers had cut one of the wardens' throat. He just cut his throat. They had a meeting in his office. They cut his throat. The brothers in El Reno, stuff like that. So the nation was, they believed that you get four, you know, if you kill the devil, you get four little things, you know, little decals and stuff like that. So anyway, so the warden, the next thing I knew, I was on the boat, on the bus, I was headed for Leavenworth. They used to call Leavenworth in those days the end of the world. And so anyway, it was a blessing. I knew everybody in California, but over on this side, everybody on this side, all the federal prisons, the Dar Islam movement had some brothers in it was 75, 76 and all, had some brothers in the at Leavenworth, and pretty soon we started hanging all out together, you know, because I was in receiving and I was telling some of the brothers, the Sunnis, I said, yeah, because we was doing a lot of fishing. I said, we having a meeting down, you know, tomorrow or something, you know, where you doing fishing. And they said, well, you can come to our meeting too. So I was looking at them, who is you? What are y'all, well, we Sunnis, Sunnis? Who the hell is Sunnis? Anyway, so I found out who the Sunnis was and who the Moors was, you know, all of that, because see, we didn't have all that stuff in California. Anyway, the point is that every time they was trying to move me away from something, they put me right in the middle of it. So instead of me staying out in California and out on the West Coast, right, they sent me out this way. So the people, and remember in the mid-'70s, all the people, the revolutionaries, half of them was in prison because they cleaned up the end of the '60s and the '70s. Everybody was in the prison or dead, or a few was running around in exile. So instead of sending me away from the movement, they sent me right to the movement. Okay, now they don't have no plan like we're planning to do all this on his behalf, but that's what it's adding up to. So coming to, and also, man, the East Coast brothers, they had every fruit, you know, from Philadelphia. Technically, you should call it Black Mafia. Philadelphia. All them brothers, the minister, the whole fruit from the outside was in prison. From Kansas City, when Imam Waratadin Muhammad came to Kansas City in '75 to see if his brother Nathaniel Muhammad was dealing drugs, which he was. I mean, we on the yard. Kansas City is 35 miles from Leavenworth. So whatever's happening in Kansas City is already on the yard. So Imam Waratadin Muhammad came to Kansas City to find out what his brother was doing. He went on back and he ain't said a word. Because he was doing that. That's what he was doing. The white man know we doing this for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I'm the brother Imam Muhammad, and this is why I'm in prison. That wasn't necessarily so, you know, because the captain, everybody but the minister, the captain, the secretary from Kansas City was all in prison. So can you imagine that the whole fruit from all around the country we was all at Leavenworth together. And we got all, and that's why a lot of the stuff I be passing on, I was with the people that was doing what we was doing in California. Some of the other ones was doing the same thing here, except they was meaner. Hey man, I ain't gonna mention. Some of the brothers were not nice. No, we was nice guys compared to them. Hey man, but you gotta build a nation, and it wasn't halal and haram. However, this is money. That money is good money. Anyway, let me go on. So when we come out during those periods, we have a chance, if you remember, to travel all around the country giving lectures. And at first, it's mainly, it was immigrants. And every city we would go to, we would go to the masjid and, so we knew the whole field for what was going on and at that time, and also the transitions, the movements that are being crushed, at that time, which would be Islamic Party and the Al-Islam movement, and the monitoring. If you notice in every group, in Imam Wahiduddin Muhammad's community, it's just like here. Every one of them is exactly the same. They had Masjid Ashura over here, right? They had the masjid out there on Martin Luther King, and they had the Central Mosque. Every one of the communities broke up where it wasn't one solid leadership in almost every city. Did that happen down that way? Almost everywhere. So this was all a planned destruction of the cohesion, of the unity. I think Imam Wahiduddin Muhammad saw that right away. That's why he felt somewhat paralyzed, so he said, well, I'll just do the best I can. And he did. He did a good job. But that community that transferred from the Nation of Islam was thoroughly infiltrated. Thoroughly, from the very beginning. Infiltrated and almost directed. Almost directed. You could see it, you could feel it, and you could taste it. So then let's deal with the relationships that we formed, let's say with Iranians, was a good, healthy relationship. No matter what happened, sometimes like now and what have you, but we have to look at things from their point of view. When we look at the Shia community, first of all of the African Americans in LA and here, everywhere, they, I put it this way, since we was all black, they thought we had the same agenda. We'll get money from the Iranians, we'll do this. And they would be telling me, we won't get that. And I'm saying, we ain't into that. So when I would try to inform the Iranians, well, there's certain, I gave a speech publicly, maybe at least 10 years ago down in Houston. I said, our experience was that almost all the African American Shias was the police. Okay, now they got big stuff going on. So that means now you got to remember the African Americans from here, they wasn't there, but some of them, a few of the places like down in Atlanta, they was there. And then they got brothers like Hashim Alauddin, he come through our masjid and I saw how they acted. And I told them, no, our experience was that almost all the African American Shias that we run across was the police. Well, it wouldn't be something with Shias. Shoot, almost everybody was the police, right? Infiltrating Islamic. It ain't nothing new. So I think then things started to, see, you can't always put your finger on exactly why different things happen. There's some gray areas. And even at the office over there, the daftar they call it, just means office in Persian. They had African Americans flooding in there. You go back, good God Almighty, let's say 40 years, time be passing. Okay, almost all the African Americans that worked that was helping the embassy, they was a little funny. You could tell they was a little funny because you could look here. This used to be the seat. Everybody used to come here, and all of a sudden they don't come no more. Why? What did we do? What did we say? If you wanted to have Dua Komel here, on Thursday night, you could have it, right? And all the Shia, you go out there and you look at them Shia. We got a whole, you just wouldn't believe it. We got Shia books out there. I'm telling you, the books, all of them, right out there. Okay. So anyway, we're happy with our whole experience, our whole Islamic and Jahiliyyah experience. We're happy with it. We're satisfied with it. And a lot of the things that happen, it's just like what was happening before. Sometimes people are meant to be a part of a big team and what have you, and sometimes it's their job to go out there and get busy. And like As-Sabiqun, if you see what the movement demands, what it needed, As-Sabiqun don't wait for other people. That's not one of the characteristics of As-Sabiqun. They go out and they get busy, they do what have to be done, and they go on about their business. So the name of our structure is As-Sabiqun al-Awwalun. That's our job, to go out, to get busy, and to get out in front of the movement, not get behind it. Okay, so with that attitude, we come in contact with literally everything, and even the Indo-Pakistani Shias. We helped get their whole thing started, back 2004, 5, all that. Yeah, we were the main speakers because at that time we were better known than all of their whole crew. We did it happily. Then where are they now? In other words, where is everybody? You got to remember, see, there's certain things that in order to do, there's certain risks you have to take. And it's not like lonely, it's the way it is. You have to be able to get on out there and get busy. If everybody leave, I sure hate to see y'all go, but I'm not going to be bothered with you. Goodbye. And the people may buy them a spot out there. They try to give you a hint that they bought it themselves. It don't work like that. The Negroes ain't going to buy nothing. The people going to buy it for them and take them out there. You can tell by the people that come through. After you get after you get the flow of things, you can see how it go. And so, you don't have to ask yourself, what did we do? You didn't do nothing. What did we do with all the Sunnis? Absolutely nothing. Well, is there something wrong with us, or is there something wrong with them? This is a simple question. Is our platform wrong and disturbing and upsetting and misguided, or is theirs misguided? And you have to, these are real things, you have to decide, right? Then when you come to that conclusion, you will realize that if you're going to do right in this world, right, it's going to call for risk. Because like you say, they need Captain America. They need the Power Rangers. They need, it's like the world, we said, is ran by the Joker, right? Them old crazy people on the movies, that's who's running the world. The Joker right? So you need those people to come, superheroes, right? Well, that means that's the part we have to play. That's the part we have to play, and at first it seems like a risk, but it's not a risk. It's a risk if you don't do nothing, not a risk if you do something. Because once you get used to dealing with boss man can't scare you no more. After a while, he stand behind the thing, boo, and the first time you jump, that's you, boss man. Then after he do it 10 or 15 times, you walking through the door, you just say, man, get out behind the door. I already know you behind there. I don't feel like bothering with you today. Right? Because this is what you do every time. You're trying to scare, you want to scare somebody? Well, we're going to change it to psychological guerrilla warfare. Because what? That means you ain't going to kill nobody. It's all in the mind. And if you know it's all in the mind, you can't get hurt, right? Yeah, and you get him to go along with it. And he's not that bright. Why he's not that bright? He's not that bright because in his decline, you look at every system in their decline and you wonder, why would they continue to do that? Why would the Romans and the British and everybody continue to do what they do? Well, because that's what they've been doing all the time, and they all get the same type of arrogance, and we're going to be here, and we're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, we're going to do this, and that's what we're going to do. And then it gets into self-sabotage, like individuals have sometime a pattern of self-sabotage. Nations have it. If you looked at America right now, let's say the Trump administration, everything, the TTOP over there in Asia, he pulled out of that, right? He make fun of NATO. Y'all ain't doing y'all job, you know what I mean? Anybody you can think of. And then he lacked the dummies he had a bromance with the Kim Jong-un. We have a wonderful relationship. Well, both of them is crackpot. Well, Kim Jong-un ain't a bigger crackpot as he is, because Kim Jong-un writing him romantic letters, and and this fool is going for it. Kim Jong-un still got his missiles. He ain't doing. He say, hey man, if you need a pat on the back, and that's all it costs me, sure. Oh, you're just the nicest guy I've ever seen. Oh, where you're going out this week? Maybe we can get to see each other. Something dumb like that, right? That's the way the dummy is. Okay, so now the risk for us is not trying to solve the problem, being a part of the solution. The risk is not doing it. That's the risk. Because that means we're letting our family down. We'll put our historical process. And remember, never forget the historical process. History has placed us in this process at this time for a specific reason. And so Allah can't say, boom, kun, fayakun, be and it is, but Allah arranges things so it's a process of evolution and transition. And you look up and there it all is. Okay. So what team are we going to be on? That's what we have to decide. We're going, which side of history are we going to be on? So we're presenting history, our view of history. The story that we've been involved in is everywhere I've ever went in the world during this period, people pay attention to us. But boss man don't want nobody to think that, well, he used to try to say, don't nobody care about y'all but me. I said, well, boss man, if what you doing to me showing you care, I don't want nobody to care about me no more. You know what I mean? If what you doing shows how much you care, I don't want no care, no love and care and none of that. But see, so history has blessed our story right now to be the global story of oppression. Black Lives Matter, this going on, that's going on. That's blending in with the whole story of human transition and human revival. And we got tons of allies on our side that we've been with all along. Now, some people ask us questions about China, about this and about that. I was watching a program, it might have been this morning, on the Uyghurs in China and what they say about it. Look, from our position, China gonna have to manage their own psychic. We don't have enough power to deal with all those, you know what I mean? This is like, if we ain't got enough power to deal with boss man here, we can just point the way. So what we gonna do with China and all them places around the world? No, they're going to have to manage themselves. They're gonna have to have a high standard of ethics and morality. The same thing 3 years ago in San Francisco, we told the Iranians, everybody's getting with you, but you're gonna have to improve in ethics and morals. Because if people are turning their life over to you, they're gonna have to know you're gonna handle their life, their family, you know what I mean, with some honor. You're gonna have to do that. That's what we was telling them. The same thing goes for any people that's on the ascendancy. If you're on the ascendancy or if you're on the decline, there's patterns of behavior that go along with your ascendancy. And the reason a lot of had this stuff go all around the world and everybody had, you read the ancient African empires, the Chinese, everybody. It's been all over the world, right? Leadership or responsibility. Same thing with boss man and the same thing now. Their evolution and decline has the almost exact same pattern. That's why I was singing the old song before we started. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. That's the same story you could repeat right now. You could repeat that same story right now. Okay, now, which side are we going to be on? This is the question. Remember we talked about situational leadership. There's situational dynamics. The situation that we're living in the world today have many opportunities, and they could have many disappointments also. It's according to what we take advantage of. So we would say we want to take, what we're trying to do is take care of all the situational advantages. Because if we don't, someone is going to step in, fill the void, and it could cause astronomical amounts of trouble. Why are we so psychologically and spiritually involved and this new world dispensation being done with the less amount of killing and destruction as possible, because the ability to destroy now is unbelievable. And if we have a global revolution, the good guys, which is us, are going to kill a lot of the bad guys. They're going to kill a lot of us. And it'll take 200-300 years for the smoke to clear, or for it to be any possibility of camaraderie. And if we do it right, we might be able to ease this world into a global transition with as little disturbance as possible. Because the price, man, the price that the life we're living right now, imagine the surveillance possibilities, the facial identity, all of this stuff going on now. We have to have a free type environment, or we have to have a total lockdown. Because if you're going to oppress people and you're going to curtail, you're going to live in a tyranny, the people are always trying to get out of that, right? And therefore, you got to keep the people almost in their house all the time. You can't have any freedom of movement, freedom of thinking, freedom of ideas, right? Because you got to oppress them people. For what reason? I don't know. There's no reason to oppress people now. The dumbest thing that they're doing is this global oppression. It's insanity. When we could share, I know this sounds a little optimistic, we could share the benefits of this world that we're living in and clean it up and live a human life that's worth living. We can do that. Okay. Well, that's what we're going to try to do. They can do what they want. Write our future. I'm going to move toward an early close. Write our future. Write our history. It's so well laid out, it's almost like filling in the blanks. The history right now is almost like just fill in the blanks. You don't even have to write it. It's already, it's written and rewritten so often that fill in the blanks. We talked about forecasting a minute ago. Trump and his money and his broke. It's everyday stuff come out. Before that, it was Woodard, the guy just lying. So I ain't know nothing about nothing. Then he's got him on tape saying, that stuff is drip, 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 drip. And remember, vote, vote, vote. Everything. Oh, we ain't gonna let y'all vote. Oh, we ain't gonna, well, so everybody, and then they say on the other hand, you find out where you vote, how to vote, you get your this. Why? They want everybody to vote. This whole scheme, the whole scheme. They could save all these billions of dollars they're wasting. They could just say, hey, everybody go vote. But they have this dumb guy messing everything up so you could run down there and vote him out. Okay. Right.
It says, this time, vote like your whole world depends on it.
The whole world, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Old Spiro T. Agnew. One of the last things I want to mention is sanctioned. Like technically, we would be classified as sanctioned. Not only just what everybody see, but I'm talking about, I used to get SSI. You can't have it, right? And in fact, they sent me something, said I owed them out some money. This is regular SSI. If I pass it to somebody To fix it, they said, oh, to, that's, I thought this was your social security number. You know, say, I don't get SSI, I get that other stuff where you disability, where you know, because I didn't work long enough, you know, a long time ago. You got to have so much. Yeah, I didn't work. I worked 1 year. No, I worked 1 year. I worked from 1965 to 1966. I was in something over here, you know, where you got to fill in some stuff, you know. Yeah, and I said, they said, when was your last job? I said, 1966. 1966? I said, yes, ma'am. I had a job from 1965 to 1966. 1966. I said, yes, ma'am. 1966. 1966. 1966. But anyway, so we're sanctioned on every point. But remember, we're inside of U.S., we're not outside like Iran and Venezuela. But remember, Allah took care of us all of this time. So it would be unseemly for us not to be full of happiness and everything else. Okay, restore all the stuff I said before last week. Restore Masjid al-Islam, $100 million. Everything done to us is an accelerator, not a decelerator. Star-track approach, can't lose. Star-track approach means that whatever we're doing, it's going to be different than all the other challenges before. It seems like that's what Allah done hooked up, that it won't be any of the things that they expect. All of this will be probably unexpected, because if they expected it, they'd try to close it off. So this would be unexpected. And even for us, that process would be unexpected. That's what the Star Trek thing is about. It's going beyond where anybody else have gone, right? And that's what we have to do on this go round. Well, let me see. Thank Iranians. We done already thanked them. Patience, longevity, internal dynamics. Yeah. Well, Boss Man is finished. That's all the thing. I'd just like to say that this thing about taking a chance in life or taking a risk, it's not really a risk. One of the speakers I used to like what he would say, Les Brown, he said, suppose you're on your deathbed and all the wonderful ideas are all surrounding your bed and you're getting ready to die, and the ghost of all those things are asking you, why didn't you do, you know, we were sent to do this and to do that, and you didn't do none of that. Now we got to go to the same grave with you, unfulfilled, unexplored, right? And that's one way to look at it. Because see, I don't know what to tell nobody, but this so-called living a risk, I wouldn't even know how to, man, if anybody knew how much all of that experience add up to, they would want to do it. This is what I believe. You know, Africa, the Middle East, having enough money, see, and then almost giving it away. See, that means that what we're doing now, it ain't for personal gain. And so the more you give away, the more you get. That's just the way it worked. So can you imagine that just at 75 to been through all of these different changes? And to me, it seemed like it's just getting started. You know, I mean, actually, when we say another 25 years, 100, we're retired 100, it's just a joke. Other people be almost dead, they have Alzheimer's, they got all kind of stuff at 75, right? So if I get it 10 years or 15, so what? It's nice, you know what I mean? Because all that stuff, you know, can you imagine? And they can't take that stuff away. That stuff done already happened. I would hope that everybody would try to fill up their life with those type of risks where it's just really worth it. It ain't worth it to sit down and have boss man whooping on people all the time. It just ain't. Well, it don't seem like fun to me. I'll bring up the other things like goal setting and all that stuff a little later. So are there any questions or comments at all?
I watched Trump's rally the other night. I think it was in Pennsylvania. It was on YouTube. They had the recommendations on there. It was live. So I said, let me check it out. First time I ever watched it, it reminds you of wrestling. It really reminds you of like wrestling.
Yeah.
You remember back in the day, the guy would be like, I'm coming to the MCI Center in DC next week. I'm gonna be fighting Iron Sheik. I want to tell you to get ready.
That's right.
I'm gonna lay you out, man.
Yeah.
And he laid threats. He told jokes. Somebody in the crowd was trying to protest. Somebody else jumped on him. Right. He thanked the one that beat the person up. He gave the police a shout out. It was complete. It was entertaining.
That's exactly what it is. It's wrestling. That's 100%. It's wrestling. It describes it better than like it's football or baseball. No, it's American wrestling, you know. And they get up and stand on the thing and fly all out in the thing. And they choreographing it better all the time. And they fold the chairs up and then hit you with the chair. You know what I mean? And all that. It's, that's what they deserve, though. Now, the thing is, do we want to go for that? You see what people, go ahead, yeah.
And then another thing, you just mentioned that. Now I'm thinking, today on YouTube, I got to watch Bobby Dick Gregory. And one of his last ones in 2016. This is a very good one to watch. Among other things, I never knew this before. He said Hillary Clinton is dead. But I won't stop with that. One he said about Trump's father, it really got me thinking, and this is true. He said if Trump got his money from his father, why come ain't no special or no extensive history of his father's, financial powers ever been laid out? All we know is his father owned some apartment buildings in Sea Pleasant and Grand Place. But how did his father get all the Manhattan real estate?
Yeah.
Apartment complexes is different from the Manhattan. So they're like, where did his money come from? And we know what I know what Dick Gregory was insinuating where he got the money from. And he goes to show he don't got no money. And his father didn't have no money neither. And he's like, if his father's so rich, where is the history about his father? Why didn't he just pop up and put his name in hotels and all this other kind of stuff, buying the football team? And I was like, wow, this explains why he don't got no money.
Well, Don don't have no money. His father did have understanding of money. It's like Joe Kennedy. You don't find a whole lot of stuff. This guy was a rum runner doing Irish whiskey. The Kennedys from, anyway. Don is a stumble bum. His daddy just liked him. He was his favorite. but he don't have no sense. His whole family got up more sense than he do. He's just arrogant. How could he blow? This guy blows any kind of money. The white folks just said he owes $300 or $400 million, right? And that's little money compared to what this guy, he squanders everything he get hold to. And the Trump Towers, he don't own none of them. He get paid by the people that own the buildings to put his name on them. Because Trump is supposed to be, Daddy gonna call him Bump after a while. The guy, he don't know anything about money. I mean, he squanders everything he get his hands on. So, yeah, his daddy was probably just smart and knew what he was doing. But Trump Jr., he don't know nothing about money. He can't keep his hands on money. And all the people know it. The big people know it. See, all the big people know it. It's the little people believing that, oh, he's a billionaire. That boy ain't no billionaire. How he gonna owe $300 million? And for what he's supposed to have, that ain't nothing. Right?
He was better at acting as a business person. You know, all the poor white people.
Oh, yeah.
He's been in their living room for about the past decade, you know, masquerading as the business guy and cutting the deal and stuff. And the people haven't caught up to the reality that it's all make-believe.
Yeah, it's true make-believe. That guy, hey. Anyway, are there any questions or comments?
There weren't any that came over.
Okay, well, we'll tighten up on a few. We'll mention vintage books again. We'll mention Forrest Otto on later, maybe, if we do it Thursday. But anyway, alhamdulillah.